Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of 442. Once again, we are doing MLS club profiles. As you guys know, Apple MLS have created a partnership for the next 10 years. And to begin that partnership, each club in the MLS had to create their own MLS profile to basically put it out there on the app. And we get to watch it. We get to watch it. We get to react to it. So today we got the lovely wife here. And we're going to be watching, today we're going to be watching Dallas, FC Dallas, and we're going to react to it. So hopefully you guys have seen the other videos. If not, then go check them out. They should be on a playlist on the YouTube channel. But if not, welcome to the first one, I guess. So without further ado, let's get to it. FC Dallas. It's loading. Guess who that statue is? If you had to take a wild guess.
If you tell me that's Lamar Hunt.
Hey, good job, Lamar Hunt.
Oh my god.
That is Lamar Hunt. I'll show you later. You know how I told you that there has been soccer since like the 60s in the United States?
So he was a pioneer?
Yeah, so, there was already a league with like the New York Cosmos where actually Pelé played in the New York Cosmos. Back in the 60s, and there was a team actually in Houston as well, the Houston Hurricanes, I think it was, and they actually played in the Astrodome. Fun fact. Just to kind of recap, we just saw basically a little bit of the story of Lamar Hunt. He was a football guy first, like football americano, this football, and he basically started his own football team, happens to be the Kansas Chief right now, and then he went to Ireland. He saw a soccer game over there, and he kind of fell in love with the sport. He was like a competitive guy and liked sports overall. So he decided to start a team and kind of like a franchise, which was the Dallas Tornadoes.
I'm guessing we have tornadoes in Dallas?
Yes. So in Dallas, Dallas, North Texas, Kansas City, and like Nebraska, there's this thing called the Tornado Valley, I think it's called. Tornado Valley or Tornado Alley, I'm not sure. But they get tornadoes all the time. Like the same, like we get hurricanes, they get tornadoes. So they just basically talked about a little bit of history about Lamar Hunt, NASL folding, but then 4 years after that, the World Cup basically came into, folded in 86, 1990, right? Like that was Italy, 1990, and then 94. They came to the United States, and Lamar Hunt basically spearheaded that group to getting that World Cup here. And the cool thing about this, like even though the league folded, you still see attendance records 8 years later, which kind of showed you that the interest for soccer was there. So I don't know. I like history.
But the soccer was already there.
Yes.
Even though, why did it fold?
So the way that
why did
money?
The league? Oh, okay.
You have to look at the size of this country, right? This is like when you look at leagues around the world, like for example, the other day Manchester City was complaining because they had one of their farthest matches, which they go from Manchester to London, and it's a 4-hour drive, and for them that is too long. Here, 4-hour flight is like average because if you're Houston, for example, you got to play St. Louis, Minnesota,
4 hours,
Seattle.
So from here to Dallas, it was too long.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what, and they blamed, or he didn't say we lost because of this, but he said it's very difficult for professional players to have a 4-hour drive and be ready for a game. And you're like, yeah, sure, Pep Guardiola, like, or players like constantly travel to Miami, to New York, to imagine being LAFC. Philadelphia, and they had to travel for that final. But it's one of those things. But it's so the reason actually that now that you kind of bring it up, the reason why I folded it is because they were spending a lot of money, and the revenue, even though they had like a record-breaking crowds during the World Cup, during like regular play they weren't getting a lot of people in, right? So for you to be able to afford, like if you're the New York Cosmos, and for you to be able to afford a Pelé, who is like one of the biggest stars in the world, Johan Cruyff, another giant star, it's like getting, I don't know, like a Messi or whoever nowadays, like Cristiano Ronaldo almost came to Kansas City apparently. But Nowadays, maybe.
What?
Yeah, I know. So they had initial talks. That's what they said. But nowadays, there's a little bit more money, more like TV revenue and this and that, right? So they could maybe afford something like that, but there's also salary caps. Back in the day, there was no cap, so they're like, we're gonna get the biggest name we can, give them all the money, even though we're not making any money. So they had to fold. So back in the day, funny enough, you know how nowadays we have PKs, so like you shoot from the penalty spot. The MLS did something called it's kind of like a 35-yard PK, which you start at the 35-yard line and you have 5 seconds to score. So you start and then you bring the ball forward and then the goalie can come out. So you go 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, but you have 5 seconds to. If you shoot and the guy raises his flag after the 5 seconds and the ball is not in the goal, it doesn't count. So some people are actually trying to bring it back because it brings more excitement to it, but it's kind of weird. No, because nobody else does it.
So like basketball, no, I know, but like if you shoot it and it's up in the air, and the buzzer goes off, but it makes it after the buzzer, it counts.
Yeah, not here.
Not here. It would be the opposite. That's
yes.
Dumb. I don't like that.
Well, I mean, because you have 5 seconds to.
Yeah, no, but
maybe
if it leaves your foot.
Maybe. But
at 4 seconds, and then it takes a second.
That's because nowadays there's like TVs and stuff, and you can like rewind and watch and be like, oh, this, and there's only a ref watching his clock, and once it says 5 seconds, he raises the flag, and he doesn't, and like he whistles. So if wherever the ball is,
how many times people would go and look at
VAR?
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays, yes.
Oh, gee. Why'd they change their name?
I don't know.
Why couldn't they keep the same?
Sometimes like legalities. Like maybe Dallas Tornadoes was tied up to one league and now this is a new league, so they're like, let's just refresh it, rebrand or whatever. They do it a lot. So funny enough, I don't know if funny enough, but Dallas has never won an MLS Cup ever, and they've been in the league since the beginning. The only thing they have is that US Open Cup a long time ago. Shout out Dallas. And there was only 10 teams back then, so it was easier. Now there's 29.
Okay, but help me out. The Open Cup, the US Open Cup, is still going around now, or was it not the same thing back then?
The US Open Cup is the oldest competition in the USA.
Okay, but did they have the MLS? Well, of course they had to have.
What?
Have the
Finish
cup.
your sentences.
Yeah, because I'd like to answer myself.
Yeah, but don't.
Why?
Because you don't know the answer.
Okay, but then you can correct me.
Yeah, but you don't say anything. You're like, oh, you don't.
If they have an MLS team, because obviously the MLS started with 10 teams.
Yes.
Evidently, they would have at the end of the season, where someone has to win a cup or something. So hence, they already had an MLS Cup, and the only thing that Dallas had won was the US Open Cup. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I don't know what you're saying.
Well, no, because you made me explain what I already answered myself, because I have to keep on answering because I'm wrong.
No, because we haven't.
But I was right. I was correct in my.
No,
I think and talk, I answer myself because I realize what I'm saying. But you have to hear everything. Because you have to remember we're recording. I know, and that's fine. But
people want to know what you're thinking about. You can't just be like, no, like.
Okay, that's fine. But now I don't even know what I was saying.
So the U.S. Open Cup.
I remember. So the U.S. Open Cup has been around forever.
For more than 100 years.
Yeah, Dallas has never won the MLS Cup.
No.
Hence, they suck.
Oh, that's 0 point? Okay.
Which sucks, because apparently they were very good.
Yeah.
When was what year did it start?
What?
The 10 teams MLS?
1996.
That was 99 when they won. Oh, yes. Yeah, they're terrible. Were they the only ones that didn't have an owner?
Yeah, so Dallas was, I think they mentioned that they were owned by the league. So they didn't have a specific owner, but they were...
So they were owned by MLS?
Yeah.
Why just them?
because I guess they didn't have anybody to buy them. In America, it's different because clubs or franchises, they're not like independent entities that like fund themselves. They do fund themselves, and they're independent. But at the end of the day, they're tied to the league. They're not able to make their own contracts with like jersey providers. Like everything has to go through the league. Everything is through the league. So whatever the league says, everybody has to follow. But in other countries or other leagues, the teams can basically do whatever they want. Obviously, there's rules for the federation, but it's not the same. Oh, that's what's his face?
Who?
The blonde kid. He plays for the United States men's national team. Yesterday that we saw in Nashville, long hair. Zimmerman. Good memory. All right, there you go. He came out of Dallas.
Saying a little too much. Giving a little bit too much information there.
You know how Messi had those pictures with the World Cup in bed?
Yeah.
Dallas did that with
that's the World Cup.
So
it was good.
What'd you think about like the whole way that they planned it out, like storyline wise?
I think it was good. I think every club profile should be like that, even though it can't all be like that because they don't all have the history like that. But it was good. If you had to give it a number, I'd give it a 9.5.
9.5, huh? Interesting, because it's Dallas.
Yeah, but it's not. They didn't really like go into like our fans and we've won this, blah blah blah. They've casually mentioned it. They kind of went more into the profile of the club and why they are
what they are.
FC Dallas. Yeah. How they became to be FC Dallas, which is nice. But Jesus, Dallas, come on. MLS Cup.
Yes, as a nerd, like as a history nerd, and then as a soccer nerd, I think having this profile, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but to me, it has been probably one of my favorite ones, just because of what it means to soccer in the United States. Like there's a man at the end that basically talks about how proud Lamar Hunt should be about, the seed that he planted. Not only did Lamar Hunt like start, Dallas teams, but, soccer specific stadiums, which, nowadays almost every single club that goes into the MLS, St. Louis, Nashville, Miami, you can name all the ones that that are new. They all basically have to come into the league, but as part of like their journey of becoming an MLS team, they have to come in with a stadium. They really, it's kind of rare, even though NYCFC plays in a baseball stadium, which is an anomaly of itself because there's not really a lot of space in New York to put a stadium, right? But there is space actually. But it would just have to be right outside, New York. But the point being is that Lamar Hunt was a visionary and was basically the man that helped soccer progress into what it is today. So like the MLS as a whole owes Lamar Hunt and whatever he was able to do with Dallas a great deal of appreciation. And it's pretty cool at the end how they show the fields of like the youth academy, how they basically lead to the stadium.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they said it.
I saw the fields, but I didn't see that it led into.
So it's like you have all the fields and then the stadium, and then at the end of the stadium you have the Hall of Fame, the National Soccer Hall of Fame, which is a pretty cool transition because that's what should be the path of a young kid that dreams to become a soccer player, right? Like you're a young kid, you earn your way up, you play at the stadium, and then hopefully you become a legend. So pretty cool in that aspect. So good job to Dallas. Obviously,
they have a whole production team.
Yeah, they did hire
end credits.
Yeah, they did hire like a film company or whatever to kind of build the story. But I think that basically shows how good of a job that was. So moving on. Next, 9.5 from the lady. So pretty good video. So hopefully you guys stay tuned, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.